A lot of people try to present the main factor behind wealth as luck, right? Now, in a lot of cases, I'm sure luck is a factor, right? But if you really think about it, what you should be focusing on if you're trying to like become wealthy is not necessarily gaining money, right? In fact, it shouldn't be that at all. It should actually be garnering things that people want, right? And that's kind of he doesn't necessarily touch on that within the essay, but he necessarily touches that on the fact that wealth is not money, it is what people want, right? So he kind of touched on that. I don't know why I said he doesn't necessarily. He doesn't touch on it in the same exact way that I just did. Regardless, essentially his main point is that wealth is what people want, and people use money as a proxy to get what people want. You know what I'm saying? Or what they want, I should rather say. Right? So, for example, when you look at barter trading, and let's say there's a farmer who sells apples, and you want that apple, and let's say you have a light bulb, right? If you go to that farmer and they don't want a light bulb or any of your other possessions, you can't get to that apple, even if you have stuff that are just as valuable as more valuable, because it's purely based on how much the farmer themselves, the possessor of that apple, considers. Well, it's based on how much they want your given assets or whatever you're providing to them, right? And that could obviously leads to major problems. Imagine if there's only a few providers of a certain thing within your given region, and they don't want anything that you're willing to offer for a specific thing. It's just a problem. So we use money as a placeholder, use it as a proxy for what people want. So we give people money in exchange for that, and they can use, you can give the farmer money in exchange for the apple, and the farmer can use that money for anything they want of equivalent value, of equivalent perceived value of the apple, according to the communist society and stuff. But that's essentially how it works. So essentially what you're doing right there, the farmer had wealth through that apple. Now, let's say hypothetically you could snap and 3,000 TVs, widescreen, 4K TVs spawned, right? In some like warehouse. I don't know how that happens, but imagine that happened for you, right? You got no money, but of course you are significantly wealthier due to the fact that you possess what other people want, right? Of course, that's a dream scenario, but it's getting to the core argument that garnering what people want is essentially wealth. Now, of course, there are auxiliary details like, oh, how are you going to distribute it? How are you going to market this so that people are aware of the thing that they want, right? But at its core essence, if you have what people want, you are wealthy. It's just about how you're going to essentially present it to people who want it, right? Or make people know that they want it. Yeah, so when people talk about, oh, wealth is luck, people always point at, oh, the top 1%, or the fact that the top 0.1% income earners make $1 million per year, right? And then they incorrectly look at the percentage of individuals who make $1 million per year and then impose that as the chance that they will make $1 million per year. That's just like illogical. All because there's a subsection of the population, right, 0.1%, who make that amount. Does not mean that your specific chance is 0.1%, right? It doesn't mean like it's the same chance of you like rolling a die and it has 1,000 sides. And like, no. It's based off your inputs, right? What are you doing to create things that people want? So then you can provide it to them, and they'll be willing to exchange that for some type of medium exchange, some type of value, which is usually comes as money, right? What are you doing to create that? What are you doing to obtain that even? You know, how many, like, think about it. Out of everyone you know, if you're social, maybe you know like 70 plus people, 100 plus people, right? How many people do you know are relentlessly focused on creating something that people, some group of people, some target demographic really wants, and are relentlessly focused on making something that other people want? Out of everyone you know, let's be very, very, very generous and say 5 people, right? 5 people. Now, let's say, I don't know, extrapolate, let's say like times 10, 50 people, right? There are very few people you're actually competing against when it comes to building wealth, right? I'd say. Now, of course, these are like rough calculations, but the general core points remains. There are very few people who are actually focused on building what people want. So a lot of people are going through the motions, going through life, maybe going to work, trying to get a high paying job, which they don't really realize, but getting a high income skill and through that garnering a high paying job is building wealth in a way. That high income skill and the products and the value that that can produce is wealth. And the companies are essentially buying that off of you, right? But yeah, a lot of people are not focused on really focusing on building what some target demographic wants. And that's why when you look at figures like top 0.1% makes $1 million a year. Yeah, well, of course. You know what I'm saying? Of course. So I'm just saying this to bring up the points that if you look at all these stats and people bringing up luck and all these things, why don't people look at the differentiating factors between the bottom 99.9% and the top 0.1% and then question whether those factors are something that they can emulate or attain or do, right? Instead of just looking at the fact that it's rare and then just like turning off all consciousness, all hope, and just like leaving it up to the universe, like some like astrology believer or something. You know what I'm saying? As long as you have something that people want and they want enough to pay for it and you can distribute it, right? You can make money, right? And you are richer if you possess those things, right? And of course, goods and services vary, right? Like some type of software service differs from some type of like physical service that you have to manufacture in terms of costs and distribution costs and different things of the sorts. But at the end of the day, if you have something that people want, and you can produce it for cheaper than they value it, right? Which a lot of the time you can, you're good. So it's definitely very difficult, but it's not impossible, and you can conceptually see it fairly easily in terms of, I guess, possibility. Every single time you spend money on something, you ask yourself why, and ask yourself, was that really impossible to provide and produce? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I see it. And another thing, by the way, is the top 0.1%, right, are making $1 million a year. If you make even half that, you're still rich. You're still rich. You're still rich. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm sure the percentages increase even more there. So, hey,